I find it quite, overwhelming as well that every single one of these medias has said something about a comment that was made by Sarah, which is understandable, absolutely fine. Yet it's taken media's decades to recognise grooming gangs that are coming over and raping our children because they're white. That is also racially motivated, and it is racist.
%100%. 100%. Gosh, that's very strong.
In this video, Nigel Farage and Ellie Reynolds, who resigned from the grooming gang scandal inquiry at Reform UK's press conference, discussed the grooming gang scandal and Sarah Pochin. Farage also pushes for a full parliamentary inquiry into the grooming gang scandal. He calls out migrant hotels and breaks down that shocking march by masked Muslim men in London Tower Hamlets. Watch as we unpack the vital leadership principle of accountability. Before we get into the details, if you love diving into political issues and enjoy hearing a principled take on them, then hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to join the conversation. It will help our channel reach a wider audience.
Thank you, Mr. Farage. Harry Farley from the BBC. The Prime Minister has accused your MP, Sarah Pochin, of shocking racism and the sort of thing that will tear our country apart. Do you accept what Sarah Pochin said was racist, and are you considering any disciplinary action? And on what you've announced today, you were one of the ones leading the call for a national inquiry. Is this not rowing back on what you previously called for?
I'd love a national inquiry if it was laser focused on the grooming gangs issue. But being that to begin with the government didn't want to do it, then was forced to U-turn and accepted it, now that 5 months have gone by, I actually think the public are running out of patience, and certainly the survivors are running out of patience, that anything will actually ever happen that is of any value at all. I don't think Parliament should turn itself into a court on a regular basis, but I do think there are times when Parliament needs to use the power that it has to re-establish public trust. So no, I now believe this is the best, the fastest, the most effective and the most open route that we can possibly use on that. The words that Sarah Pochin used in response to a caller into talk radio on Saturday morning were without ugly and taken on their own could be read to be very, very unpleasant indeed. I am unhappy with what she has done. I can't underestimate that, and she fully knows how I feel. However, it was in the broader context of DEI madness in the advertising industry, something which anybody with half a brain can recognise has been going on since about 2021. So I understand the basic point, but the way she put it, the way she worded it, was wrong and was ugly. And if I thought that the intention behind it was racist, then I would have taken a lot more action than I have to date. And that is because I don't. Thank you. Moving on to Olivia Utley from GB News.
Hi, Olivia Utley, GB News. Some of the survivors and whistleblowers have talked about the danger of this inquiry marking its own homework, so police officers and social workers being involved. MPs were involved in the cover-up of this scandal as well. Couldn't you argue that a select committee investigation would be MPs just marking their own homework?
Very few of the MPs that are still in the Commons today are the same MPs that were there at the time that these abuses were happening, is the answer I would give to that. The basic point, I mean, I think your argument, Ellie, make your own, you're more than capable, but I think your basic argument was that you didn't want social workers or police chairing this inquiry.
Yeah, absolutely. Social workers and police officers are the very institutions that have failed us for decades and decades. And I think what people are forgetting as well is that institutions almost materialises it. These are real people behind these that are constantly looking at us like we're nothing and sending us away and silencing us. So I think my priority was just somebody with a heart, somebody with a little bit of humanity that would be able to fight our corner and do what we've been promised for decades, and that was to be safeguarded.
The hotel. Who was the first person to expose the hotels? Me in 2020, going up to a hotel just west of Birmingham to say when they cross the channel, this is what happens to them. Yes, of course, there are certain companies that have made massive profits. You really have to look at the share price of one or two of them. And like you, even I'm being cautious today because I'd rather not be sued, to see what an absolute racket the whole thing has been. So the Labour government can sort of blame the Tories, and the Tories can sort of blame the Home Office, and maybe Labour in time can blame the whole Home Office. Who's in charge of the Home Office? The British government. So why don't the British government get a grip? We were told over 20 years ago, in Blair's term, first term, that the Home Office was not fit for purpose. Well, it's about time somebody in government had the guts to deal with it. I think the most interesting thing about the hotel story that hasn't really been reported, unless I've missed it, is there are tenders now out until 2036 at least, which shows you this government has absolutely no intention of putting a stop to illegal immigration at all. I believe that Parliament, acting as a court, not an inquiry, what I'm actually calling for here, Claire, is for Parliament to become a court, and that we discover, under oath, the truth about who knew what and when, and why they refused to say anything, and so that there can be prosecutions for negligence that follow. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all we've waited for years is closure and not feeling like we're stuck in the middle, like we're not believed and like we're silenced. We want the justice, we want the truth, and we want the protection for our future generations. That is crucial to us. It's crucial for the truth to come out. It's crucial for accountability and people to be prosecuted, yes, but it's also crucial that we can hammer down on this now so it stops happening to our children.
Quite right. Quite right. Daniel Martin, Telegraph.
Oh, hi, Daniel Martin from the Telegraph. You said Labour wants to kick the can down the road on grooming gangs. So how can you be confident that your committee will get to the bottom of this when the majority will have to be Labour MPs, presumably?
Look, you know, this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen unless Parliament as a whole, which includes a lot of Labour MPs, embraces it. I accept that. They might reject it. But I do actually seriously say to you that given their current level of standing in this country, I'm offering them an opportunity to take an idea, steal an idea from me, and try to a large extent, actually, to make it their own. As I say, I'm going to see the Speaker later on today. We'll do whatever we can this week to raise this issue in the Chamber, and if they reject it, they reject it. But it is a much cleaner, much quicker, much better solution that actually could lead to righting some of the wrongs that Ellie. And by the way, I mean, did you hear when she said that up to 250,000 people in Britain may well have been victims of grooming gangs? It is mass, industrial, racially motivated sexual assault and rape on a scale that I think even now we're still struggling to even believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. I was wondering if I could get your reaction, please, to the march in Tower Hamlets, where there were hordes of masked men. Downing Street refuses to say, when asked, that British Jews are currently being threatened by a rise in Islamist extremists. Like, they literally will not acknowledge that. What would you do to tackle this issue under a Reform government?
Well, you know, you raised that point. And if you really want to talk about racism over the weekend, then, you know, whilst I've already said I thought Sarah's comments were ugly and out of place, they're not intentioned to be deeply unpleasant, there was proper racism happening in Tower Hamlets over the weekend, but no one's asked a question about that until you. Yeah. None of the broadcasters are even interested in that, and I doubt they'll show the pictures. Yeah, outright intimidation to the point of sort of basically urging the mass wipeout of huge numbers of Jewish people. I have to say, Noah, I thought the scenes of those men, in many cases masks on, women brushed aside, not welcome to be any part of it. I actually think it's It's one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in my whole life. And what a telling moment. The leftist stand up to racism were there with their banners. And one says to one of these mass marchers, "We're on the same side." To which the response comes, "No, we're not." Maybe one day, the deluded left will wake up to realise they've been with very strange bedfellows. Organisations like Queers for Palestine spring to mind pretty quickly. No, I thought the scenes were absolutely terrifying. It was like a foreign invading army marching through our streets, and I defy anyone in this room to tell me that's wrong. I really, genuinely do. OK, we're halfway through. Ben Clatworthy from The Times. I'll try and speed it up.
It's fine, don't worry.
All right. Ben's there.
On the comments that Sarah Pochin made, you say they were ugly and were very unpleasant indeed. However, going back to earlier points, can you explain how they're not racist?
I've already said, taken on their own and not in context, you could read them that way. Within the broader picture of the sort of collective madness under the DEI banner that has overcome the advertising industry, that is the context in which they're made. But they were very unwise words to utter in any context, all right? I don't think I can be clearer about that, but I don't believe they had a deep racist intention behind them. If I did, I would have acted differently. And I think if you look, Ben, at my career, over a quarter of a century in public life, you know, I've always made sure, whichever party I've been running or in a senior position, that we didn't align with anything like that at all. And I've been very strict on that. I'm going way back to the early 2000s, in that being the view, and one that I've upheld right throughout my time in politics and public life. OK.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah,
as well?
please do.
I find it quite, overwhelming as well that every single one of these medias has said something about a comment that was made by Sarah, which is understandable, absolutely fine. Yet it's taken medias decades to recognise grooming gangs that are coming over and raping our children because they're white. That is also racially motivated, and it is racist.
%. 100%. Gosh. That's very strong. That is very, very strong.
Maybe I'm thinking too simply here, but hear me out. The grooming gang scandal boils down to victims and perpetrators. Who are the victims? Mostly young white girls targeted because of their race. Are they around? Yes. Many survivors like Ellie Reynolds are still fighting for justice every day. Who are the perpetrators? Mostly men of Pakistani heritage, operating in organized groups across towns like Rotherham, Rochdale, and Oldham. Are they around? Plenty are still out there, with poor national data hiding the full scale of the problem, and some even getting early release from prison. Then there are the people in authority. Police ignored reports. Social workers dismissed girls as troublemakers, and council leaders looked the other way. Are they around? Absolutely. Many hold senior roles today or sit in Parliament, including Labour MPs from those very towns who have voted down a national inquiry. So who has the power to pull all these parties together and sort this out fast? Parliament itself. With its committees and select powers, Reform UK, through Nigel Farage, is proposing exactly that. A full parliamentary inquiry to question everyone from top to bottom. No more local whitewashes or endless delays. But is it happening? Not yet, because those involved sit too high. Exposing them risks crumbling careers and party reputations. Take Sarah Pochin, the Reform UK MP, hounded for calling out media double standards on race, while the real radical targeting of these girls gets decades of silence. And yes, this scandal looks dragged out to shield Labour in the polls. Even their own voters see the cover-up for what it is, with 40% agreeing it was buried to protect votes from certain communities. Starmer announced an inquiry in June, but by October it collapsed, with survivors quitting over bias and no chair appointed months later. Will anyone face real accountability, or will the cover-up carry on? This mess has festered for over a decade. A serious investigation should be completed in under a year if it was a top priority and leaders actually cared. The nation craves those who roll up their sleeves, no matter the heat. Take a stand and do the right things. Be the leader who enters government to help, not to hurt, to build, not to destroy, to let freedom reign, truth be spoken, and justice be served. Hold every failure to account, starting today. If you have benefited in any way from this video, please subscribe, like, share, and be sure to leave us a comment.